It's been such a pleasure to be here with you this week. It's really been a wonderful experience. And again, from the bottom of my heart and from my wife's heart, we just want to thank you for the invitation and for allowing us all to be here as a family that's so special. And there have been many individuals who have shown us kindness and generosity, not least Tyler and Crystal, who have allowed us to stay in their home and make ourselves feel at home. We really appreciate all of that. And it's been exciting for me to share and to prepare for these messages. I feel that I have gotten more out of them myself than I have shared. And so what a privilege, what a great thing it is to speak about Jesus and to share him with friends and with family. Those of you who are visiting, I know that there have been visitors. People have been invited people. I hope you're welcome. Thank you for being here. And I pray that the time that we spend here together this morning would be beneficial. Let's just bow our heads one more time as we pray before we come to God's word. Father, today is your special moment. This is your Sabbath. I ask that you would glorify your Son, Jesus, in the power of the Spirit. Amen. So we've been talking this whole time about the idea that we are called as Christians not so much to a life of doing certain things, though certainly there are things that Christians do and there are ways that we live, but we are called to a life that is built on a relationship with God. And that relationship with God transforms everything about us. And we've been saying this phrase, for those of you who are here for the first time today, this has been the phrase or the statement that we have been repeating every time. And so we're going to say it together one more time this morning. So we're going to start on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Christianity is not about what you do, but who you know, and who you know will change what you do. If you get nothing else and you get this, then you've got everything. If you build a relationship with Jesus, it will change your life. We've been talking about the practical ways that we can build a relationship with Jesus. Because if you've been around church or if you've been around Christians before, you know that we often say things like, have a relationship with God, open your heart to the Lord, get to know Jesus. And we say these things, but we don't always explain practically how you do them. And so the illustration we have been using this week is a 3-legged stool. And each one of those legs supports that relationship with Jesus. It supports us being able to have a seat at the table with Jesus, as it were. And there are 3 main areas that if we have, if we engage in them, we will grow in our relationship with Jesus. The first area is Bible study for the purpose of knowing God. And I keep emphasizing that because it is very easy, and I have done this myself many times, it is very easy to slip into studying Bible for the purpose of understanding Bible history, which is very good and very interesting, or Bible study for the purpose of proving that my theology, the way that I believe about God, is right, and that perhaps my neighbor's is wrong. And maybe there is at time value in figuring out exactly, clarifying what the scripture says. But it's possible to study all about Jesus, but not know Jesus. And so we are emphasizing that the kind of Bible study that supports a relationship with God is Bible study for the purpose of knowing him. And if you missed that session about how we do that, we talked about the acronym SOAPs and other things, then I believe that these messages are being recorded, and at some point in the future, they will be uploaded to YouTube. And if you come this afternoon, I will also tell you somewhere else where you can go to get more about this. So that's Bible study. The second leg of the stool is prayer, but not just prayer for the purpose of, having good luck, prayer to make sure that you find parking spots near the front of the parking lot. I mean, and yeah, you can pray about that. That's fine. But this is specifically prayer for the purpose of communication, of communion with God. A two-way stream. And we talked a little bit about using the Lord's Prayer as a model on how to pray, not just repeating it as like a mantra, although if you want to learn it, that's good, but using it as a model for how we can pray our prayers. We talked about prayer journaling and other practical things. Again, if you missed that, it'll be on YouTube, and I'll share with you later this afternoon where else you can find it. And the third leg of the stool is sharing with others what we are experiencing in the first two. This is the leg that perhaps for most of us is the most wobbly. You know, some of us are fairly good at maybe reading the Bible. Some of us are quite good at praying, but sharing with others, many of us really struggle with. And so we talked about this, that really it's simple. We don't need to have some kind of a degree in theology or need to have years of training. Simply, it's like the story of those lepers. Remember those lepers? We told the story of some lepers, a story that was told about some lepers in the Bible, in the book of Kings, who there was a famine going on, and they found some bread, and they simply shared this bread with others who didn't know where it was. That's all that it is. Sharing with somebody else what God is doing in my life. Telling my story. Telling what God has done for me. That is the witness. That is the message that the world is waiting to hear, we discovered. So, last night, and this is, there we go. Last night we learned this verse, and this is perhaps, so there are going to be three things I hope that you take. The first is that Christianity is not about what you do. It's about who you know, and who you know will change what you do. That's number one. The second is the relationship stool. Bible study, prayer, and sharing. And the third thing we introduced last night is fighting the good fight of faith. There is a fight, there is a battle, there is a struggle that as Christians we have to engage in, but we have to make sure that we are fighting the right battle. The battle to fight is not the battle for behavior. It is not the battle to change my lifestyle in my own power. The battle is to fight for my faith, to fight to have a relationship with God, because you will discover, if you don't already know so, that it is a struggle to consistently connect with God. Listen to that sentence. Each word is intentional. Consistently connect. You can be consistent in your devotions. There are people who naturally, I'm not one of those people, but there are people who naturally, they make patterns in their life very easily. They get up at the same time, they eat the same thing, they do the same thing, it's just easy for them. And so it's possible to be consistent. Every morning I read the Bible, but I don't really connect with God. And then there are other people who, you connect with God, but it's inconsistent. You have moments here and a week there and a month there, but it's not consistent. The fight to consistently connect with God is the fight of faith, and that is the good fight that we must fight. Well, I've been telling you some stories. I want to tell you this morning my Sabbath story. My Sabbath story. Now, I grew up in a Sabbath-keeping Christian home. If you are a part of the Adventist Christian community, then this will be familiar to you. If you are visiting from another Christian community or from no faith community, welcome. I'm going to share with you a little bit of my Sabbath story. My family, I'm the oldest, when we were young, 5, 6, 7, somewhere in like that, Sabbath was very special. It was a special day to us. My mum used to make the most delicious food for Sabbath. The best meal. And if you were here last night, you know I love a good meal. So the best food was Friday night and Sabbath. We used to have family worship on Friday night. We grew up, we celebrated as our Jewish cousins do. We celebrated the Sabbath from sunset on Friday night all the way to sunset on Saturday night. And so on Friday night, around the time when the sun would be setting, we would have a special family worship. We'd sing some songs. My parents would read like Bible stories. Sometimes we'd act it out, me and my sister. I'd be Goliath and she'd be David. And as kids, it was so much fun. And then we would have something to eat, something special that my mum had made. In those days, she was experimenting with all kinds of vegan goodies. And so I remember, to this day, and this was before, obviously, the internet and all of this stuff, and before plant-based became cool. This was back in the day when it was still weird. But she was experimenting. Today, they call them date bliss balls, and they were very cool. But back in the day, she used to get dates and I think cashews or something and blend them together and make a kind of like a sweet kind of, I don't know, mush, I guess. But it would form into a ball, and then she would put like coconut, what do you call that? Coconut flakes on the outside, and she would put them on the plate. And I guess they were supposed to be almost like a chocolate, what do you guys call those things? Little chocolate. Yeah, exactly what Pastor Tyler said. So it was like a healthy vegan version, right? And we have to understand, I probably didn't have real chocolate till I was about 10, so I didn't know I was missing, right? So I thought this was just like the best thing ever. And I would look forward to Sabbaths for those delicious coconutty, sweet morsels of goodness. And we would have grape juice, sparkling sometimes. It was great. And then the next day we'd get up and we'd get dressed and we'd go to church, and I'd sit there with in between my mom and my dad, and, they'd sing the songs, and we'd go to Sabbath school and hear the sermon and whatever. I didn't really pay attention, but, it was great. And then we'd have a wonderful West Indian lunch. Now, for those of you who have not had the privilege of having Sabbath lunch with West Indians or Caribbeans, you are missing out. I don't know if there is a church with a number of people from that culture, but go visit them. They will bless you in the lunch line. It was amazing. We'd have rice and peas, and we'd have macaroni cheese, and we'd have different kinds of stews and food, and the desserts, the cakes and the spices. It was wonderful. I remember my mum used to accuse me of stalking the Sabbath lunch table. Like a lion, before it started, I'd just prowl around, and I would be making my line of attack. Okay, first I'm going to hit up the mac and cheese. I'm going to get me some rice and peas, and then I'm going to come back for thirds. I was just loving it. And then in the afternoon, the fun didn't end. We'd go home, and sometimes we'd play these special games that my parents had only for Sabbath. And we'd look forward to them, different Bible board games we'd play as a family, and we'd have lots of fun. Wow, Sabbath was my favorite day. In fact, I remember there used to be a song that we used to sing in Sabbath school. And it went like this. Sabbath is a happy day, happy day, happy day. Sabbath is a happy day. I love every Sabbath. Some of you know this song. Oh. It was great. And then I became a teenager. And Sabbath became the worst, the absolute pits. It went from being this day that I was looking forward to and all the fun to this, the worst day of the week. And it was a combination of things. Partly it was probably my own hormones and getting older. Partly it was that I was now going to school, and I didn't have the privilege of going to a Christian school. And so, all my friends, guess when all their birthday parties were? On Sabbath, either Friday night or Saturday. Guess when all the games were? I was in the school football team for a while. Guess when all the matches were? On Friday night or Sabbath. I played cricket for a while. Guess when all the cricket games were? On Saturday. Guess when all of the best shows on for kids were that all my friends would be talking about on Monday? On Saturday. So the whole time I was just feeling like this outcast because I couldn't, I felt like I couldn't go here and I couldn't do this and we couldn't watch that and we couldn't have that and we can't, don't, can't. And that is how I started to experience the Sabbath. Now, something also changed in my family. My dad felt a call to ministry probably when I was about 4 or 5. And so by the time I was about 10, he started as a full-time pastor, having gone to study and different things. And so now my wonderful Friday nights with the family, we all sit down and we all have the meal and we play the games, were changed because now Dad was out doing the Lord's work, visiting the members and having the Friday night vespers and doing the Bible study, whatever the things that us pastors somehow can find ourselves doing. Because of course, no one has time for Jesus in the week. So, Pastor, if you want to get anything done, you're going to do it from Friday night to Saturday because otherwise we got stuff to do. So my dear Dad just trying to do his best. So he was gone. And with him being gone and with this new way of life, we started to realize, man, you know what? If we're going to have food and shoes for the growing family, I now had 2 more brothers and sisters that came along, ruined it all. Yeah. Not really, I love them. But now my parents have got 4 kids looking at them every morning wanting breakfast. And pretty soon my mum realized, man, if this is going to work financially, I need to go out and get a job as well. And so now dad's working, mum's working. Guess what? After a long week of work, when she comes home on a Friday night, fighting her way through traffic on the bus and carrying all the shopping in her hands because her husband wasn't there to help her with the shopping because he's off there doing the Lord's work, does she feel like making coconut bliss? No, she doesn't. Have toast and let's go to bed. So we were just, oh, okay. And then guess what? In the morning, when we wake up to go to church, is it this friendly thing? No, now we're going to get there. We're going to get there because my dad's going to be involved. And so now we're struggling. And there's 6 of us trying to take showers in one bathroom. And he stole my sock. I don't know what my shoe is. Kids, we're going to go. And we jump in the car. All 6 of us pile in a normal car that seats 5 somehow, and we get to church, and we're the whole way, and then we get out, and suddenly the Sabbath mask descends. Now, for those of you who might not be a part of the Adventist community, let me share with you some of our secrets. There is a thing we have called the Sabbath mask. It's amazing. It's actually supernatural. In the parking lot, we can be all kinds of angry. But as soon as we come through the door, and another thing, you just wait, happy Sabbath. Isn't God good? We just smile, butter wouldn't melt in our mouth. We just, and we mean well, we're trying to be friendly to each other. But as a kid, I started to say, wait a minute, this is kind of fake. Because in the car, Mum and Dad were bickering about who took too long in the shower, and then we came to church, happy Sabbath, the Lord is good. What? What's this about? And then, I was a teenager, so I didn't want to hang out and play games with my family in the afternoon. I mean, who wants to play games with their friends? So now I'm hanging out with my friends and wanting to do other things. And slowly Sabbath turned from Sabbath is a happy day to, this day every week where everything good stops. And I have to sit and I have to hear my dad preach, who, by the way, is a great preacher, but when you're 15, who wants to go? I've had my dad all week, and now he's giving illustrations from our life, So Sabbath started to lose its specialty. But as I got older, I started to understand that the Sabbath was not a day for not working and not watching TV and not talking about sports and not, and that you can't. But the Sabbath was really a day for relationships. Because relationships need time. Now, you all know this. Any of you who have been in any kind of relationship, whether it's a brother, sister, mum, parent, or a romantic relationship especially, you'll get this. I want you to imagine this couple. We don't know them, but I want you to imagine that the man in this couple has had a conversation with his wife about their anniversary. And just ladies, I just want you to see if you are on his side or on her side. So they got married on the 10th of September. I'm just picking that date randomly. Anyone got married on that date? I don't know. Okay, no one? Okay, fine, good. But she caught him talking to his friend on the phone, and this is what he was saying. Tomorrow's our anniversary. I can't watch the game with you because I have to spend time with my wife all day. In fact, she wants us to go away from the night before all the way to the next afternoon, and we've got to talk. I got to talk to her. She's going to make me read the love letters that she wrote. Oh, I got to spend time saying how good she is and how nice, how much I love her. But don't worry, as soon as tomorrow's over, I'll be right round and we'll have lots of fun. I've got to, you understand this, it's our anniversary. What can I do? I wish it could be another day, but it can't. It's the 10th. I'm so sorry. She overheard him saying this, and now she's upset. How many of you are siding with the lady on this? Guys, raise your hand quickly on this one, just so that when you go home in the car, it's okay with you, that it is well with your soul. Right? What's the problem? He did everything she wanted with a smile. He said all the right words. I love you. Today is our anniversary. I'm so glad we're married. But what was her problem? It wasn't from his heart, right? To him, it's just, oh, this day that I have to. You have to spend with me? You don't have to. In fact, you don't have to live here. You don't have to sleep in this bedroom. You don't have to. There's a lot of things you don't have to have happen. So, just doing the actions, but it not being a time of relationship ruins it. Let's say it's your kid's birthday, or your niece's birthday, whoever, friend's birthday. And they're like, listen, my birthday's the 10th. And you're like, listen, I really want to come to your birthday. You know I'm your great friend, but the 10th, that's not a day that really works for me, like in my life, like how I am. Like, I can't do that day. So can we just celebrate your birthday like next week? Because that's going to work for me. Like how will your friend feel? Like, listen, I mean, you don't have to come to my birthday, but my birthday's on the 10th. If you want to celebrate, if you want to build this relationship with me, here's when we're getting together. I think for many of us, Sabbath became a time that it was about what we had to do, but really Sabbath is a day about building a relationship with Jesus. And the day matters because it matters to Jesus. This is the day that he chose. This is the day that he carved out in his calendar to spend with us. I want to read for you something from the book of Exodus. In the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 8 to 11, we find one of the Ten Commandments, the fourth commandment, which talks about the Sabbath. And I just want you to read and to see what God imagined when he first shared this idea of the Sabbath, what he had in mind. Exodus chapter 20 from verse 8, it says this: remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. Verse 10, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor your foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. God says, and he's talking, by the way, when he gives these commandments, he's talking to the Israelites who have just come out of slavery. They own nothing. They're living in tents in the desert. They don't even have food. We talked about that earlier, about the manna. I mean, they don't even have food to support themselves. And he says, listen, I want to give you 1 day a week where you remember, first of all, that I made you, that you're special to me, that I'm your God, I'm your creator, I take care of you. But then I want you to a day where you don't do any work. And not just you, but not your family members, not your employees, not the people who have immigrated to your country because it's so amazing. I want you to give everyone a holiday on this day of the week. Now, I just think that's amazing that God is looking at people who have just come out of slavery, but in his mind, he can envision a time when they own a company. And not only do they not work, but they can give their employees a day off, paid, by the way. He envisions a time when they have all kinds of animals. I mean, animals in those days was about wealth and success. He envisions a time when their nation, they don't even have the land they're walking on, they don't even own. But he envisions a time when their nation is so blessed that they have foreigners who want to come to their country because they're like, wow, this is a great place. And their first introduction to those foreigners is not like, hey, since you're not from around here, we're going to make you work when we don't want to work. It's like, hey, we're going to give you a day off every week as well. That these people would be like, wow, I mean, I came here worshiping Baal, but like, man, every week we get a day off here. Who is this Jehovah that you guys worship? That was what God envisioned, that the Sabbath would be a day of blessing, not just for me, but for my entire society. But, as is often the case, we can sometimes take what God intends to be a blessing and turn it into something else. In case we are confused, Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12 says this: also I gave them my Sabbath, this is God speaking, I gave them my Sabbath as a sign between us so that they would know that I, the Lord, made them holy. Do you catch that? Many of us have been working with the idea that the reason why we should keep the Sabbath is because somehow that shows that I am really, doing my part to be holy and follow God. But God is saying, no, it's the other way around. The Sabbath is not the day where you somehow show how holy you are. The Sabbath is the day where you remember it's God who actually makes me holy. I remember that it's my relationship with Jesus that is transforming what I do, not the other way around. The Sabbath should be the day to remind me that I am saved by grace and not by what I do. And yet for me, it became the opposite of that day. Somehow I missed this. And so I wonder, is it possible that in trying to keep the Sabbath, we can lose it? I missed a verse here, so let me just go back. In Luke chapter 17, verse 33, Jesus said, whoever tries to keep their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life will preserve it. I'm wondering if this principle can also apply to our engagement with God's special day. Is it possible that in trying to protect and make sure that I don't break the Sabbath, I actually lose the fact that it is a day to spend with a friend? Here's the question. How did Jesus keep the Sabbath? Because if I can see what he did, then I can model my own Sabbath experience on him, and maybe that will be the best way to go about it. So turn with me in your Bible to Luke chapter 13, and we're going to start in verse 10. Luke chapter 13, verse 10 says this. On a Sabbath, Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues, and a woman was there who had been crippled by a spirit for 18 years. Okay? So I want you to imagine the situation. Jesus has gone to a synagogue. He's gone to a place where God's people would gather for worship every Sabbath. And so, there is certainly a part of being in relationship with Jesus on Sabbath. That means we come to a place and gather where people worship God. Sure, Jesus did that too. But while he was there, he noticed that in that same environment was a lady who was there who for 18 years had been crippled. And notice how the Bible describes it. Now, you might feel that it's unscientific or you might have issues with it, but this is how Luke describes it. And he was a physician. He says that the origin of her physical problem was a spiritual issue. He said it again. She had physical manifestations in her life of a problem. She was unable to walk well. But he says the origin of that, the source of that, the cause of that was not some kind of an injury back in the day, not that she got tackled playing football and now it wasn't that. It was a spiritual situation. So let me ask you a question. Are there any people, maybe even in our congregation, but certainly in the Tracy community, who have issues that manifest themselves in life in a physical way, but the cause of it is something that's intangible? Let me give you an example. Are there any people out there who have terrible finances, but the reason they have terrible finances is because they don't have good relationships with romantic partners in their life? And so because they keep having relationships and ending those relationships and having new relationships and having to move out and sell the house and is that possibly the cause of their financial situation today? Let me give you another example. Are there some young people who may have the physical manifestation of being addicted to substances, but the cause of that is some brokenness that happened when they were children in their home? And so it is not a completely a physical cause. It is more of a spiritual, emotional situation that is creating this physical problem. Jesus on Sabbath encounters someone who has a physical problem, but the root of it is not a physical cause. In other words, he couldn't say to this person, hey, take a pill, have this operation, go to this hospital, and your issue will be solved. Are you with me? Okay, stay with me. So, it says, she was bent over and could not straighten up at all. Verse 12. When Jesus saw her, he called her forward and said to the woman, "Woman, you are set free from your infirmity." So in other words, Jesus healed her of her spiritual issue that was causing her physical problem on Sabbath. Let me walk you through that again. Jesus did something on Sabbath to deal with the spiritual root cause of her situation. And the result of that intervention was that she had physical freedom. The physical symptoms changed. And it was on Sabbath. Watch what happens. Then he put her hands on her, and immediately she straightened up and praised God. Indignant because Jesus had healed on Sabbath, we're in verse 14 now, the synagogue leader said to the people, this is one of the most passive-aggressive texts in the whole of the Bible. I love this text. I can see it happening. This woman is just healed. She's praising God, like they interrupted the service. Maybe the synagogue leader was just about to change the PowerPoints to his power slide. And suddenly, there's this hallelujah, hallelujah, praise the Lord, ruining the service. And then he has this passive-aggressive line. There are 6 days for work. So come and be healed on those days, not on Sabbath. Just saying it to everyone in general, but really there's one person who's done this, at the back of the room. I just love it. It says, verse 15, the Lord answered him, you hypocrites. Now, friends, I need to tell you that Jesus was not nearly as PC as we would like him to be. He doesn't say, well, let's talk to him after church. I'll take him aside in the parking lot. He shouts out in the middle of the service, you hypocrites. I'm sure there was someone who was dozing through Sabbath that day who woke up what? This is not how it usually goes. And here's his point. Doesn't each of you on Sabbath untie your ox or donkey from the stall and lead it out to get water? In other words, he's saying, you do things on Sabbath for your animals. You translate, for whatever that would be in your life, for your house, for your car, you do things that aren't essential, but you have compassion on these animals on Sabbath. And he said, then should not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, who Satan has kept bound for 18 long years, be set free on the Sabbath day from what has bound her? Jesus' point is that the Sabbath is a day for setting people free. Please don't miss this. The Sabbath is not a day for only setting the people free who absolutely can't wait till Sunday. The Sabbath is a day for setting people free, period. The Sabbath is a day when Jesus would intentionally look for people who were bound by Satan and set them free because it was Sabbath. Not it's Sabbath, but let's do it anyway. No, because it's Sabbath, because it's this day of rest, because it's this day that reminds us of God who set his people free from Egypt, and God who creates us, and God who wants to give rest, not just to you, but to your kids and to your employees, and even to the people in your society that you might consider to be outcast. That's the day to intentionally look for situations to make a difference with. Now remember, this woman's issue was not physical. It's not like she was in an A&E ambulance, man, if we don't heal her right now, she won't make it. No. This has been going on for 18 years. But Jesus said, no, there's no way on Sabbath that we're going to sit in church and listen to a great message when all around there are people who are bound by Satan, and we're just going to ignore that. That's not how Jesus kept Sabbath. I want to read to you another story of Jesus' Sabbath keeping. Matthew chapter 12, verse 9 to 14. Matthew 12, 9 to 14. Here's what it says. Going on from that place, he went into their synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Okay, so this other lady, she was crippled. You could say, okay, that's quite serious. But a shriveled hand, basically one of his hands was not as strong as the other. It's not even close to be life-threatening. You could live with that, right? A man with a shriveled hand was there, looking for a reason to bring charges against Jesus. They asked him, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? These were the people of God at that time. And they were asking Jesus these questions because their picture of Sabbath was, Sabbath is a day where you can't do this and you don't do this and you mustn't do this. And so they're testing Jesus. Is it okay to heal people on the Sabbath? And here's Jesus' response. He said to them, if any of you has a sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will you not take hold of it and lift it out? Now, a sheep that falls into a pit is not going to die by the afternoon But he's saying even you who claim to have these high Sabbath morals would stop to help your sheep out. And by the way, that's also part of your economy if you're a shepherd. That's money to you. He's like, even you would do that. And then he says, how much more valuable is a person than a sheep? Let's say, for example, you're about to leave your house on Sabbath morning. I don't know if they have basements in California, or I don't know how it works, but there's a leak in the basement. And you can see the water coming in, and you're like, oh, it's going to ruin the floor. We put in some lovely hardwood floor or carpet, 6 months ago, it's going to ruin the whole thing. How many of us would say, let's call the plumber real quick, or the whoever, insurance company, or whoever you call it at times like this, Ghostbusters, I don't know. Let's call those people and get them to come out and, stop the water from the mains and start working on the situation. Just me? Okay, a few of us, right? Yeah. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Just in case you're like, is this a trick question? Is he going to say afterwards, aha, disfellowship them? No. Right? Why? Because your basement's valuable. And you don't want it to smell of mold for 6 months. And you're trying to save as much of the carpet as possible. Right? Fine. How much more valuable is a person than your basement? This is Jesus' point. If you would stop to help out your basement, or if you got into a crash, God forbid, on the way here with your car, you take it to the shop. If you would stop to take care of these things, why do we not stop on Sabbath to take care of people who really need help? That's his point. The Sabbath is the day that we should intentionally look for ways that we can serve others. He continues. How much more valuable is a person than a sheep? Therefore, here's his point. It is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. See, I spent a lot of my teenage years trying to figure out, trying to understand the things I couldn't do on the Sabbath. Well, I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I can't do the other. And basically what I was left with was I can sit and meditate, but not that kind of meditation. Let's be careful. It's got to be... But Jesus is saying, listen, I'm not here to tell you what you can't do. You can figure that out with the Spirit on your own. But let me tell you what you can do. You can do good on the Sabbath. Now, I know what someone's thinking. Yes, but my good and your good might be different. Like your good might be like, giving out a book to someone. My good might be starting a whole after-school program to educate kids who in the week don't have an opportunity to learn because they speak a second language at home. And that sounds like a tutoring service, which is work. Friends, Jesus said it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. This is what this day is for. The Sabbath really is a day where we should experience the three legs of the stool, right? Bible study, sharing the Bible to connect with God, prayer. We're doing that great right now. But here's where my church, we come short. My guess is maybe here as well. We do precious little service on the Sabbath. We don't take what we're experiencing and share it with others. We don't set people free. And so the Sabbath becomes a day where we are just trying to sort of stay balanced just on the prayer and just on the Bible study. And I know you shouldn't admit it, but honestly, sometimes even as a pastor, after 2 or 3 hours of reading the quarterly, I get bored. After an hour and a half of prayer, I get antsy. And then I have to kind of spend the rest of the day just like, is it sunset yet? And I've done it, maybe we've all done it, where, you get the little sunset calendar and it says sunsets at like 7:53. And at 7:52 and 30 seconds, even though the sky is full of light, day is dying in the west. Heaven, you don't sing this song? Oh, day of rest. Whatever Sabbath song you used to sing to end the Sabbath. And we don't give Jesus a minute extra. At 7:53, visitation time is over. We'll see you again next week. Is that what he wants? Or is it okay to linger and to be enjoying it so much you look, oh wow, it's 9. Should we close the Sabbath now? And I think to have that kind of experience, we have to lead into this other part, this service, this sharing part. So, Sabbath is a weekly appointment to build a relationship with God. What if? Here's how we're going to end, with a what if. What if on Sabbath we came together, we prayed, we connected with God in powerful worship, we heard God's word preached, we played the word, and then we went to sharing and service. We intentionally looked for people and situations who are bound by the enemy that we went to set free. What if, for example, we had a program on Sabbath where we helped single parents out, single parents who struggle all week with their kids, who don't have time to do basic things like clean the house and the laundry because they've always got their kids around. What if we had we could call it almost like a school. Like it wouldn't be like a real school, but kind of like a school because there's like different kids. We'd have like different age levels, and we could invite kids, and we'd have, teachers who would tell them stories, activities, talk about Jesus and stuff like that, life lessons, and parents could bring their kids to this school. It would be on Sabbath, obviously. So, we could call it a Sabbath school. So what if we had this amazing thing called a Sabbath school for kids, and we just advertised it to the community? Hey, single parents, bring your kids here for an hour and a bit. If you need to take a nap, fine. If you want to get some laundry done, do what you need to do. You need to run, do your groceries, or you just want to, hey, if you want to stay, we also have some adult conversation groups you could stay with, and you could kind of learn more about faith. What if we had that? Oh, what, you already have this? What if we let the community know? What if we had a thing on Sabbath where we taught people how to be financially free? We taught them principles like, you should look at your money and you should think about taking 10% out to give to God or to charity or whatever causes. That's just a good principle in life, like not living on 100%, living on 90%. What if we told them about the opportunities to, budget and think about, hey, how to pay your bills first and, make sure you pay your mortgage or your house payment and then figure out what you can live on with the rest? What if we set people free financially on Sabbath? And what if they were like, you know what, this has been so helpful. I think I'm going to start giving that 10% right here to this group because you guys are doing amazing things and you are helping me. How great would we do this every week anyway, right? We give God our time, yes? They're like, some weeks. Okay, cool. We're already doing this. What if on Sabbath, everyone and their mum, even KFC, is working on a plant-based chicken. Now, friends, I need to let you know that you need to pray for the pastor because I am genetically predisposed to KFC. And so, but as someone who's been raised vegetarian, that has never been a temptation for me. So if they start coming out with vegan chicken, you might need to pray for your boy. But what if, everybody's into this plant-based stuff now. What if we had a thing every week where we fed people a healthy, vegetarian, plant-based meal, and then talked to them? Maybe played. My friend, she loves Lillian. My friend Lillian loves the forks over knives. What if we screened a lovely, well-done documentary about healthy living right here in the church, gave people an opportunity to try some healthy food and to think about ways they could live their life differently? What if on Sabbath, for those who are like, I can't be stuck in the building, you have such beautiful nature around here in California. What if a few of you who are more outdoors minded led a group of people in the community? There are so many people who want to exercise, but the idea of coming into a gym with all those young, tan, toned people doing all their squats and it's just too much. And to go by themselves, they go for a week. But what if a group went for a leisurely walk every week somewhere beautiful? And you go with new people, you meet people, you get to know people. Maybe there are people who are lonely and they get to meet some friends and go for a walk. You could call it a walking club. What if we had a space where people who are struggling with addictions could come together and in a safe, small group environment find recovery from what they're struggling with on Sabbath? Man, if our churches did something like this on Sabbath, like Sabbath would start to feel like heaven on earth, wouldn't it? Like this day where people's problems are being taken care of, people are being fed, the poor are being lifted up, those with chains are being set free. This is how Jesus kept the Sabbath. And in fact, if we did that, we would absolutely be right, because Sabbath is supposed to be a taste of heaven on earth. Sabbath is supposed to be the day, the weekly reminder that this world is not all there is, that one day there is going to be a place where we don't have to work simply to pay the bills, where we can spend time with our friends and loved ones and with God, where we can be connected to nature and connected to each other. This is what the day is supposed to remind us of. And some may be saying to me, but Pastor, if we did that, then I might miss out on my sermon. And Sabbath is the day when I come to get my spiritual blessing. And I understand that. Maybe you don't do this every week. But can I remind you of a quote we read earlier this week in Steps to Christ? She said, if you will go to work to win souls for Jesus, your faith will be strengthened. Your soul will drink deeper draughts at the well of salvation. You will get more out of the Bible and prayer. You will grow in grace and in the knowledge of Christ. And you will develop a rich experience. Let me challenge you. Whatever you might feel you might miss out on will be more than doubled in what you will get from coming into contact with people and sharing Jesus with them in different ways. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So, last text. Revelation chapter 21, 1-4. What is heaven going to be like? Well, heaven looks a lot like Jesus on Sabbath. Revelation chapter 21 says, Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. Verse 3. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people. This is God's whole aim, to be with us. He wants a relationship with us. God's dwelling place is now with the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. This is what Jesus did on Sabbath. He went around changing situations, taking away what was causing people to cry and to be in pain. It says there will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Every Sabbath, Jesus went out trying to create, at least around him, a bubble of what heaven will be like. Heaven will be the place where there's no more sickness. Heaven will be the place where people are no longer bound by the enemy. Heaven will be the place where people are no longer crippled and unable to straighten themselves up and be the full version of themselves. Heaven will be the place where God is with his people like Jesus was with us. This is what heaven will be. And every week we get to celebrate this on Sabbath. And so if you're not experiencing that, and I'm not experiencing that fully either, because I get bogged down into all the stuff I need to do and all the places I need to be. But God is lovingly challenging us. Make Sabbath the day where, yes, you spend time with me in the Word. Yes, you pray, but also you share and you serve others. And in so doing, you extend the blessing of the Sabbath to those around you. Imagine if Tracy became known as the place where on Saturday they just brought peace to the community. Wow. I think you couldn't keep the people out if you did that. I wonder who today wants to say in their heart as we close, Jesus, I want to experience that kind of Sabbath in my life. I need that kind of Sabbath in my life. I need the rest and the peace and the joy and the fulfillment that comes from what you've described. But who also want to say, Jesus, when you return, and you are taking your friends to be with you forever, as we read in that text, those homes that you are preparing for us, I want to be among the group who go to spend eternity with you as Lord, Savior, and friend. If you're here today and that's your desire, would you just stand with me? I want to pray a special prayer with you. I want to be ready when Jesus comes back. I want to be one of those who spend eternity with him as Lord, Savior, and friend. I want to make a couple more appeals. There may be those of you here today who you're here today, or you've been coming through the week and you've been hearing the simplicity and the beauty of the story of Jesus, the gospel presented. And in your heart, you feel a growing interest, a growing desire to have a real relationship with God. And if you feel that way, I want to tell you that this is not weird. This is simply God's Holy Spirit working in your life. The same thing happened to me. But there is something. Baptism is not some sort of a magical thing where you get put into some water and then you get out and you're perfect. Suddenly you have no issues. That's not what it is. It's a public way of saying, I want to continue, I want to commit to a lifelong friendship with Jesus. My old way of living where I was disconnected from God, I want to put that down. And a new way of living where I'm connected with God is what I'm going for. Will there be some mistakes along the way? Yes. But I want to make this public commitment. If you've never had an opportunity to do that, and you are feeling that I want to make that decision today, not that we'll be baptized today, but I want to start planning for that. I want to talk with Pastor Tyler and the other leaders here about doing that. If that's your choice today, I want to ask you to do something a little bit scary, but I'm going to ask you to come and join me at the front. I want to pray a special, special prayer for you. If you're here today and you feel God saying to you, you need to give me your life. You need to have a lifelong friendship with me. Maybe you were baptized in the past a long time ago, but as things happen, you got real disconnected. And now you're feeling God saying it's time to come back and reconnect, to restart. If that's you, if you're here, you can come and join me at the front. I want to pray with you. Who would be the first? I know the first one is always the hardest one, but after that, if you move, there's somebody else who wants to come, but they're like, I don't want to be the first one. It's too awkward. Who's there? Any of my friends today who need to make that choice? Praise God. Is there someone else? God bless you. Is there somebody else? Younger person, not so young person who says, I need to give my life to Jesus. I can't do it by myself. I've tried. I've failed. But I want Jesus to be my Lord and my Savior. If you're a mature Christian right now, you're praying because the Holy Spirit is doing his work right now. He's talking to someone's heart. You don't have to think about how you're going to fix the things in your life right now that are keeping you away from Jesus. He can work that out. All you need to do is make a decision to give your life to him. And he will help you with the rest. I am a living testimony that that is true. Is there one more person? All right, while you're thinking about it, last group of people. This is for those who, you've been Christian, you've been walking the path, you've been maybe going through the motions, but as you've been coming out to the meetings and today, you just feel God saying it's time for a recommitment, a real reboot of your spiritual life. Not just a same old, but a real change. And if that's you, I want to invite you to the front as well. If that's you, I want to invite you to the front. You're coming here and saying, Jesus, I need to recommit my walk, my life with you. God bless you. God bless you, sister. Who else is here? I'm here. This is me. I come to all appeals. Anybody else who says, Jesus, I need to start, I need to restart, I need to refresh, I need to renew. You may have been a Christian for 60, 70, 80 years. It's never too late to start again. Jesus says that his mercy is new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. Who'd be the first? Don't be embarrassed. This doesn't mean that you've committed some terrible dark thing that the board have to meet about. This is just saying, hey, Jesus, you spoke to me this week. I want to recognize it. And I want to make a commitment to not just hearing it and staying where I was. I want what the Spirit was doing this week to propel me into a new lease of life with you. Who's here? Who needs to say that? Praise God, James. Thank you. Who will join him? Who will join him? Bless you. Bless you. Who else will come? Who else will come? You can come for the first one as well. You want to give your life in baptism? You can come. You want to recommit your life to Jesus? You can come. You want to say, Jesus, I need to depend on you. I've been depending on myself, but I want to depend on you more fully. I want my spiritual walk to be real. Father, your word says that you would speak to your people through people of strange tongue and strange voice. Lord, I recognize in this moment my inability to fully communicate what you are trying to say, Holy Spirit. I recognize my cultural background and context perhaps can be a barrier because maybe some of my friends here are not familiar with this kind of way of responding. But Jesus, I want you to supersede all of that right now. This is an eternal moment. And I believe you sent me here, Lord, to speak to your friends here at the Tracy SDA Church because you love them. Because however great their experience has been with you in the past, you have infinitely more for them in the future. Lord, I know that there are some people here this afternoon who need to give their life to you in baptism. And I know that there are a few friends, in truth, all of us, who need to recommit our life to you. And Lord, just in the last couple of minutes that we have, we've already gone too long. Would you just touch someone's heart and give someone the strength to step forward who needs to, so that this moment will not be missed? This is not about me. This is about you and them right now. We thank you for hearing this prayer. Is there anybody else before we close? Anybody who needs to come for baptism or for recommitment? If you're dabbing your eyes, that might mean you need to come. That's Jesus trying to tell you, oh, I'm talking to you, my boy, my girl. Father, thank you for those who have responded, for those who are responding in their hearts. Jesus, I know you are not limited to our human methods, as we read. But there is something about making that public step, that public decision that makes it a little bit more real for us. And so, Lord, I want to just pray a prayer of blessing for those who have stepped forward. For my friend who said, I need to give my heart to Jesus in baptism. I know all heaven is rejoicing because of that. And for my friends who are saying, as I am, I need to recommit my life to Jesus. Whatever my commitment has been to this point, however strong my grip has been on my Savior, I need even more. I need even more. Father, I pray you would seal these decisions. You know what the enemy is like. He will try to distract us, to dissuade us, to take us away from this moment. Lord, this isn't about the emotion we are feeling right now, although that emotion is genuine. But Lord, we are praying for the power to fight the fight of faith, the fight for a relationship with you. We're praying that you would help us to connect with you through the Bible and prayer and to share with others what you're doing in our lives. We pray that we might be bringing heaven here on earth, not just on Sabbath, but everywhere that your presence goes with us. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for being here. We sang that song, we invited you, and we believe, and we know that you have shown up. And now as we end this moment together, as we go and eat and as we do other things, may the blessing of this moment just continue to overshadow the rest of our life. In Jesus' name we pray. It's all about you. Amen. Amen. God bless you. If you responded to the appeal to be baptized, Pastor Tyler will speak with you. And for those of you who responded, God has heard and you are walking in newness of life with him.